Good Friday morning, everybody. Yesterday was another good day. It was not busy. Sorry, my eye was itchy. It was not a very busy day, so I got my usual stuff done. And then some. I woke up, came in here, and I flipped my perpetual calendar over. Now this is a Max Lucado perpetual perpetual calendar. And I didn't realize until I decided to look at it again because of today's message. But it says you'll get through this. That's the title of this perpetual calendar. And it says here, let God train you. He is watching the way you handle the little jobs. If you are faithful with a few matters, He will set you over many. Matthew 25:21. And I don't know if I should say flabbergasted or just like, aha! One of those aha moments. But then I read this morning's little tidbit. It's called Hope Lives. And it's from 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 through 9. And he talks about how he spoke with a woman who lost a teenage child. Didn't say son or daughter. And she could not understand or feel that she could continue believing, or she was just like at a loss, or as he put it, shattered. I understand what she went through, because I went through the same thing, but as a teenager, and we had the family tragedy. Excuse me. And so I can kind of relate with the story because of what happened with me. But it took me a while to get back on a understanding foothold, however you want to put it, with the way I was raised as a Christian. We are going through a lot. I mean, globally, as a global community, we are going through a lot. I've heard stories about people losing loved ones to the coronavirus. I've seen the numbers and the statistics, and the last known statistic that I read was we lost close to 7 million souls worldwide. So, yeah, this is a serious deal, people, and I wish more and more people would take it more seriously. My company has finally taken it seriously. I saw a memo. That's what the word I'm thinking of. Memo that they're supposed to be sending us 2 boxes worth of disposable masks. And I kept on reading through the memo, and I read the factor that it said if you have a cloth mask, a reusable, washable mask, you can use those. And I was thankful they said that, because the same day I read it, which was yesterday, which is the same day I wore my cloth mask, finally wore my cloth mask in, I was happy. Because sometimes those disposable masks are more irritating than something you might have basically either made or bought or received somehow. But going back to the story, yeah, it's one of those things when you lose somebody to an accident or something that is not natural. Even sometimes when it is natural, because I mean, I'm talking from my experience. my incidents was all they were all natural. So yeah, it can be very displacing, disheartening. Um, Many people who either have never experienced a loss or a tragedy don't always understand it from looking at it from the outside. But when you've gone through the loss or the tragedy of losing somebody, you can relate. And sometimes your experience and your understanding and how you finally dealt with it, you can't sit there and sit there and you can't sit there and tell a person it's going to be fine, because at the point in time they're going to be like, how can you say that? But in the long run, if you can counsel this person, guide this person, help this person understand that even though right there and then the future looks bleak, um, stay the course. Stay with God. I didn't. But I can tell you this from past experience. If you do, you can get through it faster. Um, when By the time my father-in-law passed away, I had already gone through the steps and the processing and the healing factor. So I knew that if I stayed strong and became a rock and anchor for my wife, she can get through it better than I did. Yes, it's gonna be a tearjerker. Um, that in fact, my left eye feels like it's really being a pain in the butt. But I did not have the support system that I gave to Jerry because I was an only child. My family around me can only give me so much. I didn't have brothers and sisters. That in fact are the message at the time that my family gave was my cousins and whatnot who lived in Arizona gave me a message that you don't give a teenage boy. You don't sit there and tell a teenage boy that you're now the man of the house and not give a set of rules, because I got a little too arrogant. But between basically at that point in time, at 16 years of age, it started me on a kind of a roller coaster of a ride, so to speak, because I started reading Native American books. I started reading various religions and whatnot because when we were in Arizona, we didn't have a church. Um, my parents, not just my dad, my parents were not into big churches. They wanted to find a small community type church, not a big cathedral style church as I was heard my parents say it was. So it wasn't until, let's see, I'm trying to think. It was almost 10 years before Mom and I found a church that we enjoyed, and that was once we moved back here to Missouri from Arizona. So during that 10 plus years or 8 plus years, whatever it was, um, I had gotten into a lot of different books and different religions and different philosophies. But in the long run, I returned back to my Christianity. I mean, yeah, I've got all this knowledge about all these different religions and belief systems, but my roots were always Christian, so I had that. But for those of you who have suffered a loss due to Corona, um, COVID, whatever you want to call it, Corona, I don't know why. Um, if you suffered a loss because of this pandemic, there we go, we'll just call it a pandemic. I feel for you. I really, really do. It is not easy to lose a family member to a disaster such as Corona, COVID, the pandemic, or even to, heart attack, diabetic problems, cancer, um, the various different natural ways of dying. It's hard on you, but it's even harder, and I've never had this happen. Well, I shouldn't say that because my cousin Michelle, who passed away in the early 2000s, she passed away because of they ended up calling it bone marrow cancer. And the thing is, it could have been treated if the first set of doctors that she went to caught it. But by the time she had it, the second set of doctors couldn't really do much but comfort her. Um, I'm not even going to go into the formalities of what happened pre and post death. But we all have our we all end up having to face at least I hope that when we face death that whoever has passed basically passed quietly and without pain. Because I can only imagine what sufferings people go through when they're in pain and lying in bed, whether it's a hospital bed or at home, slowly passing away. Anyhow, let's change this from such a morbid conversation to something a little bit more cheery. Yesterday was another good day at work. It wasn't as busy. Same for Tuesday and Wednesday. It wasn't that busy. Was able to get the things I'm responsible for, and deal with the customers that were coming in. At first, I thought it was going to be another busy day because we had a special going on at my store. It was like, I think the special was a large single topping pizza for $7.99 or something along that line. It wasn't as busy, and I'm kind of wondering if it wasn't that busy because we were having some minor technical difficulties with our online ordering system. In fact, I think one customer did come in to order a pizza and said that they were having issues with the app. And well, I can't say for sure what is going on with our system. I just know that ever since we got DoorDash, every so often our system would have problems. It only crashed once last week, and that was on a Friday, which is like, oh my word. So, work is going good. Yes, I have minor issues. Well, they're minor issues. And, I mean, they're issues that are easily solved, which either I solve them, take care of them, or try to do my best to work with them because of how busy we are. Of course, the problem we had Monday, my supervisor already knows about because one of the daytime workers was the complaintive. Lily, according to what I heard, this person who worked during the daytime called our supervisor and for an hour chewed her ear off. And then I found out that it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. My supervisor called my cook, my night guy. I don't know why I keep on saying my. I'm not a manager, but anyhow. And talked to him for about an hour, and he told her all the things that he was seeing when he came in at nighttime. Now, I didn't get a phone call to be asked about what was going on, which is fine. To be honest with you, of course, how did my father-in-law put it? Oh, I am a squeaky wheel. Not always getting the oil that a squeaky wheel should get, but I'm still working. I'm still doing my job, and that's all that matters right now, to be honest with you. After this pandemic ends, settles down, whatever, and we can get back to our so-called new, daily routine. It might be a little bit new because things might end up changing anyhow, because one of the things that stops the spread of COVID is just sanitize, and sanitize. Which I do anyhow, so it's not like it's going to be new for me. But yeah. I'm just happy I have what I have. And speaking about that, we're now going to switch to a third version of this channel, or third version of my vlog. The last 24 hours, 48 hours, I'm finally getting some of the packages that I ordered before this whole pandemic started. But I will say that every package we receive goes through a cleansing process before we operate with it, show it, whatever. But I'm going to show what I got myself first, because there are four things here that I did not order for myself. Jerry ordered it for me. The first thing I'm going to show you is a little keychain. It has the etching of a wolf. Oh wow, that was great. It was flashing, it was showing you what my camera was doing. And on the back of it has words etched onto it. And it says, if I get it in the right light, I am wolf. Quietly I endure, silently I will suffer. Patiently I will wait, for I am a warrior and I will survive. That's a great little saying. Yeah, I got that for my keychain. And the one thing that I was really excited about, because of I ordered it about 2 or 3 days after hearing about the pandemic and how it was spreading. And then after getting the paperwork yesterday, or the 20th, I should say, about being able to wear cloth masks. Yes, I got myself a cloth mask. It comes with 2 of the active charcoal filters. And what it is there's a little slit here where the filter slides into, and of course you have to stick your fingers up in there to flatten it out. But I was wearing this all day yesterday, so I was happy to get it. And it just a little over the ear type drawstring. And basically I'm happy I got that, because the last week of April, first week of May is supposed to be my area's worst period. So I'm like, yeah, anytime I leave the house, I'll be wearing that. It is cloth. It is rewashable. I don't have the instructions here, but there was instructions that you can basically wash it with light colors, I guess. And of course, I don't know if you noticed this. Any of you who have kids or grandkids who are into Assassin's Creed will recognize that symbol. And what's really interesting is this material, um, when it receives enough light, actually glows in the dark, which not a big deal to me, but it's just a added bonus. And then Jerry Ann got me. She got me 2 rings, and I've already tested the one ring that I'm wearing. It's not lead based. It is some sort of what did I read it? Because I looked it up. The material that it's made with is like a zinc. So the first one, Assassin's Creed, of course, and the second one is the same thing, but it's in gold or bronze. This would be the one that I would have to double check before I wear it to make sure it's not got any kind of lead base. But there's a way to test it in case the website says it's zinc, but it's not. The other way is factor. Since I've been wearing this and getting this hand wet and dipping it into cleaning solution and whatnot, and it hasn't tarnished, it hasn't turned my finger green, which is another test. If you wear certain kinds of materials that have lead base, will turn your finger green. Jane got me a pop socket for my phone because I have a different phone case. Granted, the phone has got Assassin's Creed on it, but it's a nice little pop socket with the Native American Mandela or Dreamcatcher, however you want to put it. And the other thing she got is it's a nice little necklace. It's got Celtic and Nordic factors. Celtic top knot and Nordic writing. Or as I found out, it's not exactly Nordic because the written language of the Nordic is what they call Old Frank, or I forgot exactly the term, but it's a Germanic based language. And if you ever studied maps or whatnot, old maps, you'd find out the Germanic people, the Germanic tribes, are from northwest Germany, Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, parts of parts of Scotland and Ireland, from what this map showed or what I was reading. I might be wrong because I might have been looking at the wrong thing, but I just know the Germanic people were tribes from northwest Germany, that parts of Europe, northwest Europe, or parts of that area, into Norway, Sweden, and Scandinavia. So the Germanic people were also members of the Norse system, I guess you'd say. But anyhow, excuse me. My problem, because of postnasal drip into my throat, down into my chest, is getting slightly worse, but it usually does that before it clears up. And being the weather has been so offset, basically, screwy Louie, however you want to put it, my respiratory, there we go, upper respiratory problems are in sync with the weather, I guess you'd say. That's been one of my curses, yet my blessings, because the curse is the changing weather, the screwy weather affects my sinuses, which ends up affecting my breathing issues. I have been able to tell you how bad the weather can be. As I'm getting older, I can tell you even more so because of my joints. And now I understand why my one uncle used to say he never needed to watch the weather on the news because his body was already telling him what the weatherman was trying to say. Of course, one of the things that I'm finding out, is because of my natural barometer, I guess you'd say, I can give you more accurate information than the weatherman can. Of course, Jerry used to be surprised that I used to be able to stick my head, and I probably still could if I wanted to. I used to be able to stick my head outside, take one whiff of the air, look at the clouds and whatnot, and tell you if we were going to get rain or not. Just like I used to amaze Jerry Ann that we could watch Animal Planet. I could tell you what the animals were before the announcer or the narrator said anything. I guess it's just one of my blessings, I guess. That, in fact, or my love for nature. Anyhow, this right here, I tell you what. Not only is it nice and fancy, but even though some people like, don't you have problems breathing through this because you've already got problems breathing? I don't know what it was about wearing this yesterday, but I didn't have as much coughing. I didn't have as much breathing issues. I didn't have as much. Yeah, I didn't have as many problems. I thought I was gonna have problems breathing through it because the 3M masks that most people wear for woodworking projects or grass clippings and whatnot, because it's supposed to be, it's a mask basically designed just to keep the dust out. It's not a filter. It's not reusable. I mean, I could take this and put it in the wash tonight. Ooh, maybe I should, just to see if it works. I probably should, just out of safety anyhow. But the only thing that amazed me about the mask was the factor that it didn't block out all the smells. It only blocked out a percentage of smells. So I was still able to smell people who had heavy perfume or odors in one form or another. Not just people, but just general odors, including my own. Yeah, I had gas last night. TMI, TMI. But if you see, it took about three and a half weeks to get me this mask, and one of the reasons why is because of the fact that they're on high demand. So if you can find anybody who's making them and selling them, or find a local producer, I'd get yourself a cloth mask. CDC says anything that can basically cover your face, that's cloth, is good enough for them. I would, if you can find it, get a cloth mask that has the carbon filter inserts. In fact, this is what the spare one looks like. This is one out of two of the spare ones that I got. I'm probably going to think about ordering some more of these. It is, according to the size chart, it's PM 2.5 is the size on this. If you can find out what your state's worst days or weeks are going to be, I would get your mask before that. Unfortunately, my company hasn't said anything about gloves. That's why. Ooh, I gotta remember to take that other bottle of sanitizer. I ran out last night. Keep yourself some, like, one of those little small, if you can find them, small bottles of sanitizer in your you You might have to order it. In fact, I might have to sit down and talk to Jenny Ann about ordering some more of that, just because it seems like every place that we've gone is out. My store was selling a bottle of sanitizer. I don't remember how many ounces or liters or whatever was in the bottle, but it looked like water. It when you turned it around, it moved like water. Like all it is just rubbing alcohol that somebody's calling sanitizer and trying to sell it for with tax $6.44. $6.44 for something that I could probably make at home and look identical to it. Um, no, I wouldn't buy that bottle. But I I would suggest that you have a mask of some sort. Even if you are somehow able to get those disposable, almost surgical looking masks, the benefit of having the mask is the fact that you're not only protecting yourself from breathing in whatever particles might be in the air that could be contaminated, or if, like me, I have bronchitis and I don't want people to think that I'm just coughing, who knows what. I'd rather wear this to protect them as much as myself. So if you can afford to get one, or if you can find one that's affordable, I would get it. If you have, now I'm not suggesting if you have one of those painters rebreathable with a big old bulky filter thing that sticks out on the side and wear that around. Um, it might look funny, but if that's the only thing you have during your state or your region's worst time frame, yeah, I'd rather look ridiculous and wear something like that than not be protected from unknowns. And if you're in a region that has basically said stay in your home, and you're basically, I don't want to say forcibly locked into a location, but if you can afford to stay inside, you don't have to leave for whatever reason. I know there's a couple people that are in an area where the government wants you to stay inside unless you're going shopping. One of Jenny Ann's viewers who lives, I think they said South Africa. The government down there basically has mandated that you cannot leave your property. You can step outside onto your porch, walk around your property line, walk your dog on your own yard, but they're basically forcing you to stay in your on your yard. If you leave your property line, they get arrested or something. I don't know what it is, but they get in trouble. That's all I can say. So, yeah, if you don't have to leave your home during your region's worst part of the outbreak, don't. I know some people have been cooped up in their homes for weeks on end, and are starting to get cabin fever. I apologize. I feel sorry. I feel for you. The only way I can suggest you break up the monotony of cabin fever is you don't have to go to work. Sleep until you can't sleep no more. Um, if you live with your family, play cards. Do something to not only entertain your family or yourself, but do something out of your own, out of the normal that you would normally not do at home because you don't have the time. I know, or I should say, I believe that if we were locked down and basically couldn't leave our homes, we were literally had no choice. Um, Especially if we've been locked down for weeks on end, all our projects would be done. We would have probably cleaned the house 3 times, or I would have cleaned the house 3 times over. Jerry would have done her part. Um, Probably would have rearranged some of the furniture in at least one room, maybe two, who knows. I know because of dimensions and what's in the room, there are certain rooms cannot be rearranged because there's no real space, I guess you'd say, unless we got rid of a bunch of furniture. So it's one of those things where it's like I understand and I feel for people who cannot leave because of this pandemic. How does it go from pandemic? I don't know. Anyhow, the musings of the brain when it comes up with words, epidemic, pandemic. Which one's worse? Pandemic. Epidemic is just localized. But anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off because I'm starting to ramble. My brain is starting to go other places, and I've got stuff to do. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment box. If you're new to this channel, want to see, or new, the first time you've seen my video, and you want to see more, hit the bell. It will let you know when I put in my next video, and then, of course, you can always go back and look at my older videos. I am very appreciative of all the people who have been joining. I know it's a slow go, but my subscribers are slowly going up, and my videos are still long, and I know that once I get monetized, if I go that way, which I might, I'm gonna have to either cut it, cut it, one part, two part, three part. I don't know, but we'll see what happens in the near future. But still, I appreciate everybody who's been joining. Anyhow, you guys have a good day. God bless and enjoy.